Okay, welcome everybody to this day of the Law and Legislation Committee on Tuesday, February 10th at 9:30 a.m. I now call this meeting to order. Mr. Jennings, will you please lead us in the land acknowledgement and the Pledge of Allegiance? Please stand if you're able. We'll do this first.
If you're able, please rise for the opening acknowledgments in honor of Sacramento's indigenous people and tribal lands. To the original people of this land, the Nisenan, the Southern Maidu, Valley and Plains Miwok, the Patwin-Witten, and the people of the Wilton Rancheria, Sacramento's only federally recognized tribe. May we acknowledge and honor the Native people who came before us and still walk beside us today on these ancestral lands by choosing to gather together in active practice of acknowledgement, appreciation for Sacramento's indigenous people's history, their contributions, and their lives. Please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Good morning, good morning. As you can see here, we have two members of our committee here, but we're missing two of them. We were unfortunately alerted just yesterday that they're not going to be able to make it for about an hour. The problem with that is that we do not have a quorum. Because we don't have a quorum, we cannot conduct the business of the committee. And so unfortunately, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to recess the committee until one of our additional members shows up, which we expect to be in about an hour. I just want to say I'm very, very sorry. I know that folks came out here to give public comment on our consent calendar and our items, and I wish that we had a quorum, but unfortunately we do not at this time. So this committee will be in recess starting now at 9:32, and then we will come back as soon as our additional member joins us. So again, I'm very, very sorry on behalf of the city. We typically like to not have this happen, but unfortunately there was a conflict. So with that, we are in recess at 9:33 a.m. All right, welcome again to this today's Law and Legislation Committee meeting. I call it back to order at 10:23 a.m. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll to establish a quorum?
Yes. Councilmember Dickinson?
Here.
Councilmember Pluckybaum is absent. Councilmember Jennings?
Here.
Chair Maple?
I am here. Thank you very much. And we have already done the land acknowledgement and the Pledge of Allegiance. So we will move quickly along. Thank you for attending today, and thank you for your patience as we got a quorum in chambers. If you haven't already, if you plan to speak on the consent calendar or any of the items, you can find a speaker slip in the back, fill it out, and bring it up to the front here, and we'll get you on the queue to speak. Otherwise, good morning, everyone. I'm glad that you're here. Now I will move on to the consent calendar. Are any questions or comments from my colleagues on the consent calendar? Seeing none.
Motion to move the consent
We have a motion? Okay, do we have any public comment on the consent calendar?
We do not.
Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed or abstained? That passes unanimously. That brings us to our one and only item, our action item here. Councilmember proposal request for committee consideration. This is for the prohibiting the use of city facilities and city property related to immigration related enforcement activities. So the way that this process works for the city is when we have council members that have proposed a policy and they do not sit on this committee, they actually cannot come and present because that would be a violation of the Brown Act because they have a majority of their council members in chambers. And so what I will be doing is giving some brief background, and then I'll call up our speaker to give a little bit more. Then we'll open it up for public comment, and then we'll hear from my colleagues. And so with that, so this resolution was championed by three of our council members who don't sit on this committee, our council members Vang, Talamantes, and Guerra. And it was strongly informed by community advocacy. Many of you are in this room. The proposal reflects specific requests and includes components raised by community members and organizations in a November 18th letter submitted to the mayor and the city council. I actually have that in front of me here. The proposal introduces a resolution that directs the city manager to develop a citywide policy that would prohibit the use of city property, while also advancing measures that community members and local business owners have clearly stated are needed. Those include clear communication protocols, signage distribution, and reporting requirements for city departments. Simply prohibiting federal immigration enforcement activities on city property is not sufficient. according to this proposal, without these additional mechanisms to ensure compliance and enforcement. So some key elements: prohibition on the key of city facilities and city property for immigration-related enforcement activities, clear guidance for city staff, tenants, and the public regarding these prohibitions, reporting and accountability measures to ensure the policy is implemented and enforced consistently, and advancing this proposal to the full city council is critical and timely. So the request of the authors is not only that we pass this proposal today, but that we really do so with urgency and make sure it goes to the full city council. And so with that, I'd love to welcome up our speaker. Come to the front podium, please. And then please introduce yourself to the audience. And
good morning, Chairperson Maple, Councilman Jennings, Councilman Dickinson. Very much a privilege to address the Law and Legislation Committee. My name is Jim Gonzalez, Chair of the Latino Economic Council. I'm here today at the request of the Office of Councilman Guerra, recognizing that this legislation can trace back to a few years back when this council bravely established the fuel network, and every year consistently has funded the fuel network to make sure that immigrant rights are enshrined and protected in Sacramento. The legislation you have before you today also has large roots at this point. The city of San Jose, the city of Berkeley, the county of Alameda, the county of Santa Clara, and the county of Los Angeles have all passed similar legislation whereby recognizing that cities' officials' first obligation is to protect the safety and the rights of its residents. We've seen what happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the city has an obligation to control its own property so that they don't become staging areas for ICE to go and violate people's human and civil rights. So what is happening here today, and I hope we are able to advance this to the full council, is a step in avoiding the type of situation where ICE tramples on people's rights and uses city property, its parking lots, and other properties to create the type of intimidation we've seen. All throughout the country right now, in federal Congress, we're seeing a debate to unmask ICE, to require body cameras, to have local police find out who's in charge of the operation, basically a police sergeant on site saying, okay, who's in charge here? And also finding out when they detain somebody, where they're taking them and what are their names, because right now some people are just being abducted and their families don't even know what's going on and they're being separated. So having this ordinance in place where the city controls its own property will create the type of message to ICE and others that Sacramento is extremely serious about protecting the civil rights of its people, and it sees its obligation to protect those rights as a council, and I hope you advance this forward. Thank you.
Gonzalez, thank you so much. And then before we go to public comment, any immediate questions from committee members? Okay, with that, please, we'll welcome up our public commenters.
Great. First, I have Rhonda, followed by Nathan and Jarek.
Welcome.
Good morning, City Council Law and Legislation members. My name is Rhonda Rios-Kravitz, and I live in District 7. I work with Sacramento Immigration Coalition, and I currently do accompaniment at the courthouse with NorCal Resist. The federal actions we are seeing across the nation are threatening immigrant communities and creating fear and uncertainty for all of our residents. Immediate action from the city is needed to protect the constitutional rights of the people who live and work here. I strongly urge this committee to support an ordinance directing the city manager to adopt a citywide policy that prohibits the use of any city facilities or city property for immigration-related enforcement activities. This includes prohibiting their use as staging areas, as processing locations, or as operational bases. This ordinance should also identify all relevant city properties and facilities, both the interior and exterior areas, require the design and posting of clear signage stating that civil immigration enforcement activities are prohibited on these properties and facilities, advise private landowners and leaseholders to identify non-public areas where civil immigration enforcement is not allowed, and provide free signage to support them, establish and enforce a citywide policy for record-keeping and oversight of any civil immigration-related incidents involving city property, direct city employees to immediately report any attempted use of city property for immigration enforcement to the mayor and the city council, and direct local police to investigate any federal agents who violate city or state law, and if necessary, use de-escalation tactics to protect peaceful protesters. Sacramento now has the opportunity and the responsibility to ensure that every resident's rights are protected. This ordinance is a necessary step toward that commitment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker is Nathan.
Welcome.
Hello, my name is Nathan. I am a lifetime resident of Sacramento, born and raised. I was actually somewhat surprised to learn that Sacramento is a sanctuary city because as it currently stands in our current approach in the city, we do not appear to actually be enforcing any of our policies. This is a step in the right direction, this proposal, which is why I'm in support of it. But this is only a baby step in compared to what we should be doing in order to protect the immigrants of our community. I live among immigrants all up and down my street, and they are just as much part of the community as every person in this room, outside this room, throughout the county. I believe this proposal is good, but needs additional add-ons to it, such as expanding the data sanctuary policies. We have had long repeated incidences of federal agencies using the flock network and accessing data they should not have access to within California. We want to ensure that is not going to happen in Sacramento. We need to ensure that our police will not cooperate in joint task forces with ICE and help them in any way. And we would like to make a motion on this to immediately, at priority level 0 to 30 days, begin work on the proposal and bring it to the full council.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Jarek, and then I have Ethan, Moyes, and Kao Yi Tao.
Hello, good morning. My name is Jarek, and I am a community outreach organizer for Ignite Filipino, and I'm urging y'all to support for an ordinance that establishes a daily sanctuary policy to ensure that immigrant communities here in Sacramento feel safe. We saw this ordinance passed in Los Angeles, and we also saw in Alameda, and I believe that Sacramento can ensure that our resources managed by contractors for the city comply with the vision with both transparency and accountability. And I'm asking y'all to close the loophole of SACPD to ensure that there's absolutely no city resources being shared with any federal agency that engages in the containment, separation, and policing of our immigrant communities. And our immigrant community is what builds, sustains, and feeds Sacramento. However, this same community is constantly living in fear and scared to go out because ICE is everywhere out in the streets patrolling and profiling our people. And being a sanctuary city is not just a title put on ourselves when we don't feel safe living here. So I'm asking you all to support item 3, or at least support for an ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Next, Ethan, then Moyes, Kao Yi Tao, and Marcelena.
Welcome.
Hello and good morning. I'm Ethan with Ignite Filipino, and I stand in front of you all today in full support of this proposal. The safety of community, which is the very same community that has and will continue to sustain our city for generations, should always be our utmost priority. And while community leaders and organizers, such as the folks here today, can and will continue to speak out and advocate for our immigrant friends, families, neighbors, and loved ones, it is you, the City Council, that represents us and implements the policies that ensure our safety. This proposal is merely the first step towards that very safety that our community members currently do not feel and have. Please take further steps to support our immigrant communities, such as strengthening this proposal or otherwise support an ordinance that establishes a data sanctuary policy. As others have mentioned, we've seen this implemented in places such as New York, Chicago, and even in our own state of Los Angeles and Alameda County. By doing so, you ensure that resources managed by contractors for the city comply with this vision that we have, and close the loophole of SAC-PD participation in joint task forces to ensure that no city resources are shared with any federal agencies engaged in the harming and detention of our immigrant communities. We keep us safe. You keep us safe. Please do the right thing. Salamat. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Moise.
Why are we here? Good morning. My name is Moise with the Asian American Liberation Network. On your desk is a few letters from me, my card, and my commitment to conversations that keep Sacramento safe and developing policies that accomplish that vision. Why are we here? We have been here, waiting an extra hour for enough of your committee to show up so we can start this meeting. We are here because, in your words, no short of a record-breaking 1,000 community members engaged with the immigration policy platform update at the January 27th City Council meeting, approaching 700 e-comments submitted online in just 5 days, emails directed towards you, and more attendees in person than could fit in these council chambers. Why are we here? Because a community accountability letter was sent to you on November 18th, and the resolution the full council passed on January 27th was a statement of values with none of the accountability that community asked for. Why are we here? In front of you is a letter from your chief of police confirming that SAC-PD had been sharing license plate reader data with out-of-state agencies until June of 2024 in violation with the city's sanctuary policies established in 1985 and 2017, as well as state law. Why are we here? To demand that, one, you expand the definition of city property on this proposal to not just physical property, but also the data and surveillance infrastructure operated by contractors for the city. We are also here because the Sacramento Police Department has demonstrated it will violate your sanctuary policies unless you specifically direct them otherwise. And so we are also here demanding, two, that you close the Joint Task Force loophole, explicitly prohibiting SAC-PD from participating in any interagency collaboration that involves immigration enforcement. And finally, three, we are calling on you to pass Motion 2 in your staff report to immediately begin work and send this to the full City Council as soon as possible. Good morning. We have work to do.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Kawi.
Hello, my name is Cao Yi Tao. I am a resident of District 2. I am with Hmong Innovating Politics as well, and I'm here and proud to stand with our community advocates to really push for a comprehensive and enforceable community safety plan. I am here because Sacramento is my home. I am a child of refugees, and I have grown roots in this city, and we cannot stand as our neighbors are targeted and harmed. We're also here because our government has failed us. This mayor and city council has failed our community. It's really disappointing that last year we raised so many alarms, and it is now finally time where we're looking at ways in which the city can really strengthen its policies. So, that is a failure, and I'm really disappointed. This is also a moment for this committee to really rise to the occasion. And I know that we're not perfect and there's more to learn, and I hope that today you listen to community and you really rise to this occasion to create a community safety plan that is, again, comprehensive and timely. This means that we need to see timelines. We need to make sure we prioritize this. And as we also look towards the upcoming budget season, prioritizing is not only giving us the funding for our response networks, but really looking at these policies and make sure that we're keeping PD accountable, that we're making sure that whatever is in our jurisdiction, that we are really focusing on that level of control. And so I urge you all to really make sure we keep the city manager accountable with clear timelines. Really make this plan comprehensive by incorporating a data sanctuary policy and closing the Joint Task Force loophole. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Marcelina. After that, I have Nicole, Joshua, and Jill.
Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Marcelina. I'm a volunteer with the Sacramento Immigration Committee, and I'm also born and raised in South Sac and currently stay on Franklin Boulevard. I'm here today because I don't think this resolution is enough. I think it's just an ounce of what we need to be addressing right now and with a sense of urgency. I want to share some of our demands coming from our organization, along with our base and other organizers who've been working towards real sanctuary city policies, because I want you to take and know the people's voice seriously. I want you to get an idea of what we're actually looking for and what we're not, and that we're not just looking at private property. We're looking for one, absolutely no collusion with DHS or ICE. Things like no employees of SAC or SPD will inquire about a person's immigration status at any time or for any reason. We've seen videos going around nationwide of this sort of thing happening. Number two, no crowd control. So not answering to federal requests for assistance when crowd control is happening, especially outside the anti-ICE encampment at the federal building. Three, no cover-up. So law enforcement officers from any level of government will be banned from using any type of face covering. This is already law, but we're highlighting this because it's still happening. SPD will suspend its officers if they are found covering their face, hiding their badge, or in any way obscuring their identity. There's more to this as in terms of how to enforce it, because like we said, we're working on these things, but they keep getting broken. So our last demand, number four, real consequences. We need police officers and city employees to be subject to civil penalties. We believe that more city-led community meetings need to happen after violations to the sanctuary city happens. And lastly, that if the mayor is found to have violated any part of these demands, that you guys would take part in his recall election. I hope this hits home, and I hope you realize the gravity of the situation, because our organization, our base, we're not going anywhere. We'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Nicole.
Welcome. Oh boy, hi. I'm here to echo sentiments that have already been voiced. We want accountability and clear timelines. ICE is already here. We're already scared. People are already being taken. We need steps. We need action. We need a data sanctuary policy to protect us, like how the city of Los Angeles has adapted. And we have already learned that we cannot trust SAC PD. They are not on our side. We need enforcement by explicitly prohibiting SAC PD from participating in any joint task forces. I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Next is Joshua. Then Jill, AJ, and Taylor.
Welcome.
Before you start my time, I need to adjust these microphones. I'd also ask for eye contact from all of you here before I start. My name is Joshua Messias. I'm a resident of Sacramento. I was born and raised here. And I need to let you all know, well, at least the ones of you that were here on time, you're all hypocrites. You started this meeting off with that indigenous land acknowledgement, and you knowingly are allowing the Sacramento Police Department to collude with ICE and DHS to harass the protesters, myself included, at the Camp for Justice daily. I was there on Thursday when they took our teepee, when they broke down and destroyed sacred Native American artifacts, which again, you started this meeting out with your little acknowledgement that you read off your piece of paper like you're just getting through your script. You don't care. If you did, we wouldn't be here right now. Learning that the sanctuary city policy was implemented 11 years before I was born, and now 30 years after that, we're here dealing with this. It's beyond upsetting. People are scared, but some of us are pissed. We're over it. This is our land. This is our streets. This is our city. And for you to be allowing CHP and Sacramento PD to give these guys little rides home and escorts home it's beyond ridiculous. They have federal money. This is the capital of our state, one of the largest economies in the world. Our governor is flying around doing press conferences denying the genocide of Israel. He's not here. He's saying that California works with ICE and we support law enforcement when they're out here tasing people in your city, a couple blocks down, bear macing protesters who are using their rights to defend you, by the way, because when Flock and Ring get installed in all your brand new houses that you're buying from these guys, and they're doing their mass surveillance to find your lost dog, what happens when it's
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete.
clothes that they need to find and track through the neighborhood?
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete.
This is serious, and you need to take it seriously.
Thank you.
We're done with it.
Need me back now.
Next speaker is AJ.
You're welcome.
My apologies. Jill, thank you. Sorry about that. Then AJ.
Thank you. I have been a resident of Sacramento since the early 80s, but it was actually a childhood dream of mine to live in this city because it was the capital of California. I learned this in the 4th grade in the 50s. And my dream to live here finally occurred in the early 80s when I moved downtown and started working in law firms and started going to all kinds of government buildings, mostly for lawyers. One was, of course, the John Moss building at 650 Capitol Mall. In those days, it was the U.S. District Court building. The Army Corps of Engineers was there. There was a lot of, in and out. Today, I stand in front of that building through NorCal Resist Court Watch, and I try to watch over the immigrant applicants that are coming in to get their residency here in this wonderful country of ours. And I am so alarmed at what is happening in Minneapolis, and I want Sacramento to be right out there in front of ICE and the federal government, as long as they are as tyrannical as they have become in the last 14 months. Also, I run an Airbnb business out of my home. A lot of my guests come here to work in government.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Next is AJ.
Welcome.
What is happening in Sacramento and across the country is not complicated. There are two sides in this moment. On one side are our neighbors, community members trying to survive, trying to stay with their families, trying to exercise their constitutional rights, and all of us trying to protect one another. And on the other side is DHS and ICE operating through terror, violence, disappearance, and with impunity. There's no neutral ground between us. Historically, but particularly visibly within the last few months, Sacramento police have made their position clear through intimidation, arrest, criminal charges, violence, theft, and destruction of property, including sacred religious artifacts. Sac PD has aligned itself with the far-right authoritarian federal regime. The choice is already being felt in our community. Our community members are out in the community every day, knowingly taking risk of their freedom, their physical safety, and as we have seen with the escalation across U.S. cities, their very lives to protect one another. We're not asking you to save us. We are demanding that you stop harming us. Stop allowing the city property to be used for ICE kidnappings. Terminate any agreements with Joint Terrorism Task Force that explicitly prohibit cooperation with agencies that exist solely to terrorize our communities. Stop exposing us by allowing sharing of our data, by expanding the definition of city property, and we can talk another time about your collection of that data in the first place. We also you want to understand that our demands come within the context of SAC PD and ICE criminalizing protests and trampling our constitutional rights to free speech. And the longer you delay the process, the more the city's harms continue. It's easy to express outrage at ICE in this moment. words and concern cost nothing. The real question is what you will do about the city's own role, how you will take accountability for the role the city has already played, about how SAC PD and city policy, about concrete mechanisms that make this violence possible, and how much longer will you wait to address this? Our community will not remember who was shocked. It will remember who acted and who allowed the harm to continue.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Taylor, and then I have Elizabeth, Jim, and Keon.
Thank you. Welcome.
My name is Taylor. I'm with the Sacramento Immigration Committee. It's our organization's position that the city of Sacramento has failed to meet this moment in history. Showing that our status as a sanctuary city is nothing but lip service to that idea. Immigrations and custom enforcement agents are using city property to conduct their operations against the city's residents, and our own police are carrying out actions on their behalf. ICE funding is well over $80 billion at this point. It is the position of our organization that between the injection of funds on the federal level to the Department of Homeland Security and our city's already limited resources, allowing those limited resources to be used to assist DHS is grossly irresponsible. The Sacramento Immigration Committee has been canvassing businesses and residential blocks in the surrounding areas of the ICE raid conducted at Home Depot on Florin. The people that live, work, and shop there don't feel safer because of these raids. Residents, immigrant, indigenous, or otherwise, don't even find there to be a meaningful difference when it comes to how to react to police, ICE, or any other federal enforcement agents, because people know they're working together. We need a sanctuary city ordinance that will hold people responsible for collusion between these two agencies. I encourage everyone here to meet with the Sacramento Immigration Committee on February 28th on Florin Road at the Donuts and Coffee to hear the heartfelt needs of the masses themselves if you can't trust what I say. We want ICE out of Sacramento, we want the end to deportations, and we want legalization for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Keep your comments. Next is Elizabeth.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Elizabeth Nix. This is the first time I've ever testified in front of a city council, so I'm very excited to be here. I have lived in Sacramento in District 4 since the year 2000, and I work at Westminster Presbyterian Church, and we are one of the members of SAC Act, and it was so nice to see Katie Maple at our respite for unhoused people last week. I would like to say that I am really worried about this country. I have a PhD in American Studies, and I thought that the Constitution would withstand onslaughts, and you see Congress bowing to the administration, you see states bowing to the administration, and what do we have left? We've got localities. That's the last bastion, as we've seen in Minnesota, and we've seen in Minneapolis. You all have been elected to uphold the Constitution, and I hope that you do this. I really support this proposition, and we're the last step. And if localities start collapsing to this administration, there's nothing left. So thank you for this position. Thank you for this proposition, and stay strong against this administration.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Next, I have Jim Gonzalez. Would you like to make a comment or pass? Okay.
Thank you.
Keon Bliss.
Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. The current political moment cannot be understated that we are beyond the point of just passing symbolic resolutions or making or speaking on platitudes and platforms. We have literally watched no less than 2 people murdered in the street, actually 3 people, Nicole Good, Alex Preddy, and Keith Porter, who were doing nothing more than living their daily lives, as well as standing in solidarity with their neighbors. And they were murdered in cold blood, in front of our eyes. You don't need to understand police tactics or policy or culture to recognize murder when you see it. This current resolution, which it is a resolution, is just direction. It passes the buck from our elected representatives to an appointed official who is brand new and is expected to thread the needle and provide our community safety when it is actually your constitutional duty to do so. Authoritarianism relies not just on compliance, it relies on fear. Fear to speak out, fear to take a stand, and fear to actually take bold and proactive action. And police militarization and surveillance, which has continued long before ICE in this city, are also a necessary component of that. Right now, the resolution only talks about around prohibiting ICE activities on city property, but we need more than that, and it needs to be binding, and it needs accountable and clear timelines. This has to be brought back no later than 30 days, because we've already more than a year into this fascist administration. We need to expand the definition of city property to not just include physical property, but also our data transparency compliance, which, as you all just heard, SAC PD has already been complying and sending data to.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete.
Long before this administration. So let's be clear about that. And we also need to
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete.
As well. There should be no compliance.
Thank
this
you.
Is your moment.
Thank you.
Step up.
Okay, thank you. I want to first thank everyone who showed up, both today and at our January meeting as well. It's been, I think it's been great to see the community come out and really enforce and say what's important to them. And I wish that we could get this many people showing up on all kinds of issues. But I think this has been really an eye-opening moment for all of us on the council, and I want to thank our council members, Van, Guerra, and Talamontes for bringing this forward. I also want to acknowledge that I know that this was said in January, and it's been said here, that it's not moved fast enough. And I hear that, and I know that that's true. And so I think that today is another step forward, but there's still a lot of work to do. And so I just want to acknowledge that and acknowledge that what folks are feeling. I have a couple questions, and then I'll pass it over to some of my colleagues. I think this might be for the city attorney's office. I know mask wearing is not a part of this, but I did read in the news this morning that the courts maybe yesterday, shot down the state law related to mask wearing for law enforcement. I don't know if we followed that at all, or have any thoughts on it, but I'm curious about what, if anything, the city can do given that decision as it relates to mask wearing of either federal agents, state agents, and obviously locally.
Chair Maple, I was not aware of that. I haven't seen that decision yet, but we certainly can look into that before this moves, if this moves on to council.
Yeah, I think we move this forward, and then also that's a great question for us to grapple with, because I saw that the legislator who had introduced that law said that they're going to bring it back, and they're going to. The reason why the courts said no is because it didn't include state law enforcement, and so I think they're going to bring it back, including federal, state, and local. But I think it's something for us to be aware of and think about as we move forward with these policies. And this is another thing that I'm curious about, and I would love to get information on for all of us on the council, is related to the Joint Terrorism Task Force. I know that that's something we participate in through the police department. I am not aware of how that interacts with data sharing with federal agencies, but I would love to know the answer to that. If we are sharing data, what that looks like, how that operates, so that we can make a decision as a council about whether or not that's something that we think we should be participating in, separate from this. And then also I have some, so these are things that I want that are in addition to what it's in this proposal, knowing that this will probably move forward as it is, but things that I think we should bring back to this committee. And then the last piece that I was really interested in is also on the harassment for protesters. I've heard quite a few stories from people who have come in here. I've had people reach out to my office. And so I just really want us to have an understanding of what's happening at the John Moss building, how the police department, if they are coordinating in any way with federal enforcement, how that interacts. So those are separate things, but I think they're related because I heard them talked about here. But in terms of this proposal, we can discuss the merits of this. And then we can also give direction at the end if we want to add additions. So with that, I will pass it over to Councilmember Dickinson.
Thank you, Chair. Some of the questions you've articulated are ones I had on the mask issue. The reporting I saw was that it was struck down because it didn't include state officers, federal and local only. So I'm not sure what that legal reasoning is, to tell you the truth, off the top, but that was reported to be the deficiency in the legislation. But beyond that, I concur with the chair in terms of the questions you've raised, for which you'd like to get more information. But that ought not to deter us in moving this to the full council. And I know there has been testimony to give us specific time deadlines and so on. This will move as quickly as possible with our action today to send it to the council. That is the process. So without further elaboration, I think we all are very committed to trying to do as much as we can to protect our residents, our citizens, all those who are here in our community. And so I would move to send the resolution on to the council.
I'll second that. Great. Councilman Jennings.
I'd be happy to third that, but I don't think we need that. I think it's just and I want to thank all of you for showing up. And, I want to also apologize for the inconvenience that we caused some of you by not having our meeting at the time that it was supposed to be. You were here on time, and we appreciate that. So I just want to let you know that from me and from members of this council, we apologize to all of you for the inconvenience that we may have caused you. But we heard your voice, and you stuck with it. You labeled some of us as hypocrites. And I can see from your eyes that might be true. Even though I may not feel that that's the case with me, I can see from your eyes that might be true. And so what I want to do is move this as quickly as possible so that the full council can come together in order to address some of the concerns that you've expressed in your testimony. And I know you'll be back and you'll hear that, and you'll hear the plan that we put together to address some of the issues that you're concerned about. So I want you to stay with us, not just show up at this meeting, but show up at all the rest of the meetings that are going to happen after we move from this law and ledge meeting. But I want to third the vote to move this as quickly as possible to the full council.
Okay. Heard and heard. And I just want to share that. I know urgency is of great importance here. So with some of the issues that I brought up, I'd love more information. I'd love that information to come to the full council instead of coming back to this committee. So if it's possible to get that information and bring it with you to the full council when this item gets proposed there, that would be great. But I do not want that to be the thing that holds up this moving quickly. So if it's not then, shortly after, but would love, again, information on masks, what our role is, how we can, no matter what happens with the state, assuming that bill gets reintroduced in a new form, is there anything we can do locally beyond what we currently do? Data sharing, including the Joint Terrorism Task Force cooperation, what that looks like for the city. And then what is the current status of how we are interacting with protesters through the police department, and including DHS and ICE on the ground at the John Moss building, so that we all have transparency on what's happening and we can make decisions related to that. So either shortly after or at the same time, would love that information to come to council, and you can follow up with me if you have any specific questions. So with that, I heard a motion and a second. I heard a sense of urgency, so within 30 days is what was in the proposal, and that's what I support. And so with that, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstained? So that passes unanimously. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who came out. With that, we're going to move on. Any comments from the committee here? Nope. Okay. And then any public comments from matters not on the agenda?
We don't have that for a special meeting
That's
today.
right. Okay, special meeting. So with that, we are now adjourned at 11:04 a.m.